2023 will be over before we know it. So I'm going to go over some options for you if you are tired of your TV speakers, tired of your crappy soundbar, and you are in the market for a good old-fashioned 5-channel AV receiver. Let's get into it. All right, no beating around the bush. Let's go for 5-channel home theater receiver. And then we'll sort price low to high. All right, Sony STR-DH590. This baby has been around for many years now. I think it was first introduced, I don't know, 2018 maybe? 5.2 channel receiver, which means it can handle 5 ear level speakers, your front, left, and right, your center, your back surrounds, and up to 2 subwoofers. Just FYI, I know we're going to be looking at particular prices that are, well, in this case, this one is currently on sale for $100 off for only $248. But when you are ready to pull the trigger and buy your 5-channel AVR, that may not be the case. So, take these prices with a grain of salt. This is probably going to vary wildly within the next few weeks or a couple of months when holiday shopping is in its full swing. So just wanted to get that disclaimer out before we get started. All right, let's take a look at some of the specs. 5-channel amplifier, which means it has 5 amplifiers inside of the receiver itself, which will connect to your speakers with speaker wire, like the old traditional way. 90 watts per channel into 6 ohms, 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, which is good. When it says watts per channel, you always want to actually look for the range that it's pertaining to. This is good because it's 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, which is the full range of human hearing. But just like any AVR, it's going to tell you the wattage actually only applies to 2 channels driven, not all 5 at once. Don't ask me why that became an industry standard, but it's true. You're always going to get a wattage rating with 2 channels driven. So just remember that. So if it's 90 watts per channel with 2 channels driven, I'd say if you're watching something and all 5 of your speakers are going, I think you're gonna get more like 70 watts per channel, 65 maybe. This has Dolby and DTS surround sound decoding. This uses Sony's own proprietary room correction software called Digital Theater Auto Calibration, or like I call it, the CAC. Not really, that's just built-in Bluetooth for wireless music streaming with your smartphones, tablets, and compatible computers. Since this is one of the cheapest AVRs you can get on the market right now for 5 channels, it does not have the latest bells and whistles you might think of when dealing with AVRs today, like HDMI 2.1, 8K video support, next-gen gaming support like variable refresh rate and auto low latency mode, that kind of thing. So as you can see, those things are not listed here because it just doesn't support it, but it supports up to 4K resolution, which is honestly plenty for most people. HDCP 2.2, again, which is fine for most people, and supports HDR10 and Dolby Vision. Optical and coax digital audio inputs. If you have a turntable and you'd like to listen to your records through your home theater system. Unfortunately, this one does not have its own internal phono preamp for a turntable. So as you can see, it says here, to connect a turntable, you'll need to add a phono preamp to it. Again, because this is one of the cheapest AVRs out there on the market today. Not only does it pass through 4K video signals, but 3D signals as well, if you are a 3D Blu-ray enthusiast and like to watch 3D content. If you happen to own a Sony TV, this has Bravia Sync for one remote operation with compatible Sony components. It does come with its own wireless remote control with batteries included. That's nice. Auto calibration microphone, so when you are doing the room correction, MCAC room correction, it does come with a specific microphone that you use for that room correction because it'll play test tones through it, which the microphone will pick up and then determine the distance between that microphone and the surrounding speakers, etc. One thing I want to mention about this AVR is that, as you can see on the back here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, only the front, left, and right have 5-way binding posts, as you can see here, these 2 here. And then the center and the surrounds have these crappier spring-loaded terminals. I just don't particularly like the spring-loaded ones. They're just really cheap. I mean, they still work, they still do the job, but you'll see as we keep going that the more you spend, you're gonna see only 5-way binding posts and not the spring-loaded kind. They're just better. They hold the speaker wire in place better. So yes, this is the most inexpensive option you can buy, but there's a reason for that because they kind of skimped on certain features. So yeah, just a real basic 5-channel powerful AVR. So let's just go ahead and move on. Next up, the Yamaha RX-V385. Normally it's $349, but right now it's on sale for $299. This one is only 70 watts per channel into 8 ohms. But again, that's 20 Hz to 20 kHz, so that's good. With 2 channels driven, Dolby and DTS surround sound decoding, supports 4K Ultra HD video signals. Yamaha also comes with their own room correction software called YPOW, or Yamaha Parametric Room Acoustic Optimizer, for automatic speaker calibration and more precise surround sound. Microphone included, again. Cinema DSP modes add richness and depth to music and movie soundtracks. And adaptive dynamic range control limits the volume level on sound effects and commercials for more discreet late night listening. So if you like to watch things when the kids go to bed, but you don't want to disturb them and have things booming and wake people up, it's nice that this offers that feature. Again, Bluetooth streaming for streaming music from your compatible mobile devices. Despite it being an inexpensive 5-channel AVR, it actually supports HDCP 2.3. The Sony we were just talking about only supports HDCP 2.2. I don't need to get into HDCP too much. I do have a video kind of explaining that I made a couple of years ago. But in a nutshell, HDCP is just copyright protection technology. So new things that are coming out might give you an issue if your AVR only supports HDCP 2.2, but at least in 2023, I haven't had to deal with any of those issues yet. What could happen is that you might be watching something and then it'll give you a message on the screen that says, this is not compatible or you won't be able to watch this. So just be aware that in 2023, you might want to pay a little bit extra for an AVR that supports HDCP 2.3. Again, it's probably going to be a few years from now where that's going to be more of a problem, with more and more content being only compatible with HDCP 2.3, just to make it that much harder to pirate, etc. So I know there are lots of brands to choose from, and I know there are a lot of receivers out there. But just so you know, Yamaha, I would suggest for those who want a good combination of something that can handle movies and TV just fine with surround sound, but also if you're very into music. Yamahas in particular are very good at reproducing both movies and music reproduction, since Yamaha is known for their amazing pianos. So it makes sense that their features kind of lean towards that group of consumers who are going to be listening to music quite a bit through this system. Aha, and if we look at the back, we've got a full set of 5-way binding posts. Yay, good. No spring-loaded binding post to speak of. All right, moving on. Denon AVR-S570BT, currently $399. Again, 70 watts per channel into 8 ohms, 20 Hz to 20 kHz, that's good. Dolby and DTS surround sound decoding. Again, this also has a microphone that comes with it, so you can perform room correction software to optimize your speakers for your particular room specifically. Aha, now we're getting into the AVRs that support the most recent HDMI and HDCP features. So for a little bit extra, you're going to get HDMI 2.1, which supports up to 8K resolution, HDCP 2.3 for copyright protection, supports all 4 of the major HDR formats, HDR10, HDR10+, Dolby Vision, and HLG, 8K upscaling too, for when you're watching 1080p or 4K content. But again, that's only really necessary if you happen to have an 8K TV, which I know is a very small fraction of consumers out there. Again, with this price point, you're still not going to get an internal phono preamp if you want to connect a turntable to it. Just FYI, if you're a big vinyl fan. And again, with this AVR, we've got a full set of 5-way binding posts. Yay! All right, I don't think I need to point that out from now on because the more you pay, you're only going to get 5-way binding posts from here on out. JBL Bar 300, you're not an AVR. Come on. Yamaha RX-V4A. Normally $499, but it's on sale right now for $399. Again, that price will vary depending on when you're watching this video. The previous two AVRs were 70 watts per channel, but this is 80 watts per channel. Into 8 ohms, 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, 0.06 total harmonic distortion. That is the quietest so far. Dolby and DTS surround sound decoding. Again, Cinema DSP 3D. That is just a Yamaha thing. YPOW for room calibration. Music enhancer improves sound quality of Bluetooth streams, MP3s, and other digitally compressed music files. Again, because Yamaha has a big emphasis on movies and TV and music. One particular interesting feature about this Yamaha AVR is that this is the first one we've come across so far that supports a Zone B. As you can see here, the surrounds can be surrounds in your main listening area, or if maybe you just wanted to do front, left, right, and center in your main living room, and then possibly in another room, you wanted to do a Zone B for a 2-channel stereo setup for listening to music in another room that you can still control with this AVR. So that's cool if that's something you're into. Aha, and also along with that is MusicCast, which wirelessly connects compatible Yamaha components together for a seamless whole home audio experience. And a free MusicCast app offers easy Wi-Fi control, settings adjustments, and music selection and playback. Oh, this is also one of the first ones so far that works with voice assistants like Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. It supports AirPlay 2, so you can stream directly from your iPhone or iPad. Not only music, but if you wanted to watch a video that's on your iPad or iPhone on your TV, that's what AirPlay also supports. So, we're getting into some features and bells and whistles that might be more enticing to you. Again, this supports HDMI 2.1, supports all the HDR formats, and this one does support your next-gen gaming features. Variable refresh rate and auto low latency mode. Supports ARC and eARC. Say if you access your streaming apps like Netflix or Disney Plus from your smart TV, that way when you're streaming from those platforms, the audio can then pass back to the AVR and then go out to your speakers. All right, moving on. This one's new just in time for the holidays. Denon AVR-S670H. 75 watts per channel into 8 ohms. 20 to 20,000 hertz, 0.08% total harmonic distortion, Dolby and DTS surround sound decoding. Aha, this is the first Denon AVR that lists Odyssey multi-cue auto room correction software. So the other Denon we were talking about probably just has like maybe a more watered down version of Odyssey, so they maybe didn't want to call it Odyssey, I don't know. Built-in Wi-Fi. Not only does it support Bluetooth for streaming things from your mobile device to the AVR, but it also supports Bluetooth transmission. So if you have a set of Bluetooth headphones, it can transmit that audio to the headphones from the AVR. And as you can see here, it can play through Bluetooth headphones only or through Bluetooth headphones and your speakers simultaneously. So maybe if there's somebody in your household who has a tough time hearing dialogue and they want to wear some wireless headphones to better understand people, they can do that while the rest of you can still hear everything through the speakers. Cool. AirPlay 2 support, HEOS built-in technology. That's kind of like Denon's answer to Yamaha's MusicCast. It's an added expense, but Denon does sell wireless speakers that are HEOS compatible. So if you have a HEOS compatible speaker in various rooms around the house, you can then control them with this Denon AVR and have music all around your home. Works as a Roon player if that's your jam. And yes, all the latest HDMI features, HDMI 2.1, 8K 60, 4K 120 video support, HDCP 2.3, all the HDR formats, all the next-gen gaming features you would expect, and another one called quick frame transport to reduce or eliminate lag and frame tearing. ARC and eARC support. Oh, and look at this. This is the first one so far that supports moving magnet phono input for connecting a turntable. It also has an Ethernet port for more stable internet connections. Moving on. Marantz NR1510. Normally $799, but on sale for $599. One interesting thing I want to point out is that all the AVRs we've talked about so far are reliant on the internal amps inside the AVR itself to power your speakers. But this Marantz, on the other hand, is the only one that offers front, left, and right pre-outs. What that means is, say you have some really nice tower speakers or bookshelf speakers that can handle a lot of power, and you happen to have a stereo or two-channel external amp, you can then use that external amp with this particular AVR. Yes, it will somewhat enhance the surround sound experience if you have your front, left, and right speakers connected to an external amp, just because you're going to be providing more power to those speakers than you would if you were just connecting and using the internal amps. But typically you only care about doing this externally powering your front, left, and right if you listen to music a lot through this system. Because music only comes out of the front, left, and right, stereo, right? And Marantz, just like Yamaha, is known for their musicality when it comes to their products. So not only will you get some really good surround sound when you're watching TV shows or movies, but you're also going to get a very high quality music reproduction experience as well. So just thought I would point that out because it is a unique feature when it comes to just your basic 5-channel AVR. One reason you might want to spring for an external amp for those front, left, and right speakers is because the AVR itself only produces 50 watts per channel into 8 ohms. Yeah, that's the lowest power rating out of all the AVRs we've talked about so far. But honestly, that's not uncommon for Marantz because it's going to be a more hybrid AVR than the others. Hybrid meaning music and movies. So typically with music, you're not going to need incredible amounts of power. Odyssey multi-cue room calibration software, built-in Wi-Fi, also HEOS compatible because Denon and Marantz are owned by the same parent company. Apple AirPlay 2, and again, because it's Marantz and it's made for music, this is where you're going to get into music-related features. Plays high-resolution digital music files via USB storage device or a networked computer, PCM audio up to 24-bit, 192 kHz resolution, DSD up to 5.6 MHz. If you're really into music, you'll know what that means, and it's probably something you're going to want. Also, pure direct mode switches off any unnecessary circuitry to provide a cleaner sound. So say that you have a CD player hooked up to this, and the CD player itself has a really good DAC that you just like the sound of, the digital to analog converter inside of it. You can then turn on pure direct mode so that the Marantz AVR doesn't process the audio at all. Just the CD player is the one that processes the audio, so then it's just a pure analog signal going to the AVR out to your speakers. And like some of the previous AVRs, it does have audio enhancements to compressed audio like MP3s and other digital music files. Although this one has its own name, which is the Marantz Dynamic Audio Expander, or MDAX2. One interesting thing about this is that it is HDMI 2.0B. Not quite 2.1. But it still supports HDCP 2.3. So that's good for future content that may be encoded only in HDCP 2.3. But I can see that because it's not exactly geared towards next-gen gamers. It's geared more towards those who want good surround sound and listen to music a lot. One thing to note is it supports HDR10, Dolby Vision, and HLG, but not HDR10 Plus. HDR10 Plus is Samsung's proprietary HDR format. But nowadays, if it does have HDR, it's almost always encoded in HDR10 or Dolby Vision. Those seem to be like the two most common formats nowadays. Supports eARC, again, supports moving magnet phono input for your turntable, which makes sense since it's geared towards music lovers. Ethernet for more stable internet connection. Okay, all right, I saved the Anthem MRX 548K for last because I'm gonna talk about this one with a big asterisk next to it. Yes, it is a 5-channel AVR, but as you can see, it is $1,899. That's really expensive for a 5-channel AVR, although that checks out with Anthem products. They are usually pretty expensive. One of the biggest things to note is that it has a full set of preouts. It is literally one of the very few options you have out there for just a 5-channel AVR that has a full set of preouts, meaning you can power all of your speakers using external amps. So if we go down here and see that it's rated at 100 watts per channel, that's when you're dealing with the internal amps inside the AVR itself. But it is pretty cool to know that you can still power all of your speakers exclusively with external amps if you so choose. If 100 watts per channel is not enough, and you've got some real beefy speakers in your 5-channel setup, then you have that luxury of powering your speakers with a BasX A5 from Emotiva, or maybe even an XP-A5, which is like 300 watts per channel, kind of crazy deal. But another really unique feature about this one is that since it does have a full set of preouts, you'll notice back/height with the main preout section. So out of all the AVRs we've talked about today, this is the only one that can process up to 7 channels, not just 5. So as you can see here, front, left and right, center, surround, back/height. So you could have 5 ear level speakers and 2 height channels if you want to get into Dolby Atmos. Or you could have 7 ear level speakers. So that's why it says it not only supports Dolby and DTS surround sound decoding, but it supports Dolby Atmos and DTS-X because it supports a 5.1.2 Atmos setup. But it does say right here with optional external power amp. So that doesn't mean you have to have external amps for every speaker. You could power your 5 ear level speakers with the internal amps. And then if you have an external stereo amp, just 2 channels, you could then use that to then power the remaining 2 channels to make it a complete 5.1.2 or 7.1 configuration. I'm hoping this is making sense. This is also the only AVR we've talked about that supports IMAX Enhanced, which is kind of like IMAX's own proprietary immersive audio format. Anthem has their own room calibration software called Arc Genesis. Another reason Anthem products are very expensive is because it has an audiophile grade 32-bit 768 kHz DAC, or digital to analog converter, inside. Typically, you're only going to care about that if you listen to music a lot. Built-in Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Apple AirPlay 2, Google Chromecast. Yeah, with a price tag like that, of course, it's going to have HDMI 2.1, HDCP 2.3, supports HDR10, HDR10 Plus, Dolby Vision, and HLG, supports ARC and eARC. Okay, so that's really it for 5-channel AVRs. There's not a whole lot to choose from on the market because with Dolby Atmos being so popular now, you have to have at least 7 channels to do that. But if you're just wanting to get some surround sound so you can finally upgrade from your TV speakers or soundbar, good old-fashioned 5-channel AVR is the way to go, just to get you on that home theater journey. So now that we've gone over these, let me tell you what I think about them, what I might suggest one versus the other, okay? When we're talking, if you don't have a lot of money to spend and you need to pinch as many pennies as possible between the Sony DH590 and the Yamaha RX-V385, I would go for the Yamaha V385. Again, because it has more modern features, it is HDCP 2.3 compatible, so it's going to last you a lot longer. As far as future copyright protection rules come out in the years to come, it's good for both movies and music. So yeah, keep into a super budget-friendly option, Yamaha RX-V385. Beyond that, the Denon AVR-S570BT, it's good, it's decent, but maybe if you're just set on getting a Denon, like Denon is just calling your name and you want to get a Denon specific AVR, I would spring for the S670H. It has all the latest features, HDMI 2.1, HDCP 2.3, all your next-gen gaming features. So yes, it will cost you more, but definitely worth it down the road, you know? The Yamaha RX-V4A, I would kind of put in that same category as the Denon S570BT. They're good, but just kind of in this little middle ground where it's not super budget, but it doesn't really have all the bells and whistles that you would probably want for years to come. A few reasons you might want to choose the Marantz NA1510 over all the other options. Again, it has that front, left, and right pre-out, so you can power your speakers externally if you so choose. It is for you consumers out there who love music and movies equally. And out of all the AVRs we talked about, it is the only one that has this slim design. So if you have limited space on where you can put this, the slim design definitely helps, because a lot of AVRs out there are quite tall. So it's kind of hard to put it like inside an entertainment center or cabinet, that kind of thing. And if you've got enough money to spend, you don't really care about a huge configuration like 7 ear level speakers and 4 height channels and all that stuff. If 5 ear level speakers and 2 height channels is good enough for you, and you want that signature Anthem sound, and you really like music as well, then sure, yeah, go for the Anthem MRX 548K. The fact that your entire system can be powered externally is a huge plus if you've got some real nice power-hungry speakers that just need more power. So there you have it, Yamaha RX-V385 for your ultra budget conscious consumers out there. Best overall, the Denon S670H, the Marantz NR1510 for both music and movie lovers who need a slim profile with limited space, and the Anthem MRX 548K for those who are willing to spend that much and don't need this ginormous system. All right, so there you have it, 2023. There's your 5-channel AVR buying guide. I hope that helped. I hope that cleared up any issues you might have been having when doing your own research and trying to find the best AVR for you. And I also hope it narrowed down your choices so that it's not just completely overwhelming. So yeah, happy shopping. You deserve to upgrade from your crappy TV speakers or crappy soundbar. And now you can finally be surrounded by some good audio when watching your TV shows and movies. Or listening to music, whatever. As always, please be kind to each other out there. Don't just watch TV and movies, experience them in 5.1 surround. And of course, always be listening.